So let's start with the introduction to Six Sigma. And my name is Ravi Prakash. I am a Six Sigma Master Black Belt, and I've been in quality function for more than 38 years. So, what is Six Sigma? So, it started the whole quality management program in Motorola in the 1980s. However, it is most used by GE, the General Electric, in the mid 90s, adopted by Jack Welch. And now, today, every single company is looking forward for a Six Sigma specialist in their organization and to improve their quality using Six Sigma. It's a management philosophy focused on business process improvement. So basically, we are talking about business process improvement rather than the output. So we believe that the good process will give a good output, good product. So by what are the things you are getting to? First is eliminate waste, rework and mistakes. So that's a fundamental thing. Mistakes are not happening. So the moment you avoid mistakes, your customer satisfaction also improves. Finally, the business goal of profitability and competitiveness are definitely increasing. And how do you do that? It's a statistical measure. So there is a number associated with that, that is sigma. So number of standard deviations. So we'll discuss that later. So objectively evaluate process. It's not that you just make it, we are Six Sigma. You need to prove it with numbers. Finally, the goal of Six Sigma is continuous improvement. Right? So we'll continue with that. Okay, Six Sigma has multiple facets. So we'll go one by one the different approaches. So process excellence, again I spoke in the previous slide that we are talking about business process improvement. If you say my Six Sigma, my process is Six Sigma capable, that means you have only producing something, the output has only 3.4 defects per million opportunities. In percentage terms, it is 99.9996 percentage. That's a great output. And remember, here we are not talking of any zero defect. So defects do happen, but we are going to minimize that. Continuing with that, what is the measure again? Opportunity here. Opportunity comes from customer requirements, not the internal requirements. So customer says that I have, I want something with a 5 centimeter tolerance, and you are giving 5 centimeter tolerance within 5 centimeter tolerance. That's a great output. So the customer, let's say you decide that it is 4. Okay, customer is asking 5, we will make it 4. But we are not talking about this success of getting the internal. Obviously you have still the this one. And what it does, it recognizes the problems in the process, sets up improvement projects within the process. So we are working on the process, not the product. Evaluate the process, work through the project again in a multiple phases, which are called define, measure, analyze, improve and control, to improve the process. So again, here each phase has its own tools and we will discuss that tools. It's a philosophy, it's a statistical measure. We discussed about the defects, a metric, a measuring system for people, right? Or your process, a business strategy. The business strategy here is good process or good quality reduces cost. Tool to generate business objectives. Now let me explain this. Previously, earlier days before the Six Sigma comes into picture, So people or the organizations were focusing on speed and cost. If you are giving speed and cost, okay, customer will be happy and you will get quality. You will get quality and customer will be happy. But that is moved, Six Sigma moves that paradigm to quality gives you speed and cost. For example, let's say you give with cheapest item at the breakneck speed and that there is a mistake. So obviously you are not giving both speed and cost and you are going to rework and final product does not reach customer. Suppose you give a quality within the speed and cost, so that will be the best product and customer will be more happy with that. Now many facets, metric, benchmark, a vision, a philosophy, a method, a tool, a symbol, a goal, a value. So you can have any phase. Six Sigma is a goal, that is 3.4. A metric, the organization can define their own goal. Okay, this year I'm going to have a 4 Sigma. 4 Sigma is not possible. Okay, 4 Sigma output. Then the benchmark. Okay, my competitor is working at 4 Sigma, I'll work at 5 Sigma. A method, Six Sigma project is a method where we have used a set of tools and improve the process. A culture of quality set up in the organization. We'll continue with the introduction, and it's a data driven process and data driven decision. So we completely talk about statistics and measurements and metrics, and it is not definitely focusing on assumptions. Assumptions are validated before they are implemented, right? Then we have a process decision. First is you have to identify, then validate that assumption. Okay, you assume that I have a problem with the training. Then you validate with the training effectiveness. Then you brainstorm solution, plan for implementation, and finally come out with a good training plan so that you don't have unintended consequence. Unintended consequences, it could be defect, or it could be delay, or it could be employee dissatisfaction, right? So these are the probable causes. Once it is done, Six Sigma has a fifth phase called control phase. So it's not only limited to the project is over, we close it. So there is a control phase which will be monitoring the process even after you close it. And obviously the control of costs using statistics. So one fundamental thing is Six Sigma will be, will not take into experience. No, it will take experience into count, but it just validates before a decision is made on that. Next, where the focus of Six Sigma. So obviously any business surveys on customer, so the first focus remains always the customer focus. Then the internal process, so continuously improve the process so that you have a good output. Variation is, let's say you are making a product and you have a tolerance. First product goes within the tolerance, and second product goes within the tolerance, third one with goes the tolerance, fourth one is closer to the limit. So now what is happening is you are having a variation within your process. So you have to reduce the variation and bring it to the center. Waste, we will discuss the waste. Basically waste is not what you throw out, waste is what you spend time on, activities where you spend time, so that you are utilizing your resources properly, value streams, and equipping the people and controlling the process. Let's say Six Sigma. And now, why Six Sigma becomes an important tool? The traditional method is always driven by an internal metric. Okay, what is the profit? What is the number of defects? But Six Sigma or Lean Sigma, okay, if you combine Lean and Six Sigma, we will discuss Lean a bit later. So we will have a Lean Six Sigma. So it depends upon voice of the customer. And in a traditional approach, it's quality functions program. And in Lean Six Sigma is a business strategy. Traditional methods focus on defects, and Six Sigma focus on process which create defects. Finally, the focus on training in traditional methods, which is moved to training along with application with a project oriented approach and validation. Fundamental thing is validation, right? Now let's say what is the yield. So ppm here is the good products made. If you are one sigma level in your organization, right, you have 690,000, which is 39.10% yield. If you are 2 sigma, it's 69.2%. 3 sigma, it's 93.32%. 4 sigma is 99.38%. Look at the, it's not linear, it's exponential scale. As you go closer to 6 sigma, your output increases more than 99%. And let's take 99% only, right? So 99% may not be enough in many cases. Let's say safety cases. Okay, this is an old data, 2019 data. Okay, so let's say India operates at that time in 2019 2,31,879 landings every month. 99% means 2318 unsafe landings, crashes every month. Can we bear that? Let's take this way. Indian Railways, 82 crore passengers in 2014-15. 99% reaching home means, right? It's 82 lakh people not reaching home. Can we bear that? So similarly, Maruti Suzuki as an example, you are going to lose just 99% only, 15,500 cars. And 99%, if you go back, 99% is not even 5 sigma, right? Okay, now there is a, obviously we spoke of numbers. Yield is number of opportunities. It's not number of parts, opportunities. Number of opportunities, out of that how many failures happened, divided by the number of opportunities into 100. From the yield, we can get rid of the six sigma level, which can be done. Sigma level is again an indicator, because we are not talking the output. Now let's take lean a bit later. Thank you.